Hello and welcome to Pattern of the Ages, a podcast about the Amazon Prime show, The Wheel of Time. My name is Tony, and joining me is Ryan.
Hello.
Today, we will be discussing and recapping episode 8 of The Wheel of Time, titled The Eye of the World. Please note there will be spoilers for episodes 1 through 8. So if you haven't watched yet, you may want to pause this and come back later. However, we will be avoiding spoilers for all future episodes. Ryan, this is the finale.
Yeah.
Usually what we do here is we start off with a recap of the episode, and then toward the end, we'll kind of go over our general thoughts. So with that being said, let's get right into the recap, because this might be a long episode.
Yeah. So like we start with every week, we go over who directed and wrote the episode. And this one was directed by Kieran Donnelly, who directed the last episode, and written by the showrunner, Rafe Judkins. And then the cold open, we have sort of like the introduction to the dragon before Rand, and we have the text on the screen that says 3,000 years ago.
Yeah, that was a surprise, going way back.
Yeah, so it's before the breaking of the world. And it's the entire scene is in the Old Tongue language that a lot of the music is in, and basically what they spoke before the world changed with the breaking. So that was a little jarring too, because you start the episode and you're like, what? This is not in English.
Right.
But so we have the previous dragon, whose name is Luce, there in Telamon.
Yep.
And I forget who's playing him, but I think the actor is pretty well known. And he's talking to an Aes Sedai named Latra. And they're sort of in a nursery area where presumably his child.
Well, they're both Aes Sedai.
Yeah, because
Right,
he's
okay.
a male Aes Sedai,
Yeah.
but he's a dragon. So
Yeah.
I don't know if they consider the dragon an Aes Sedai or not.
Oh, yeah.
But they both can channel. But the baby's nearby, and like they're sort of talking about his child. It's like that they're taking care of. But their discussion is about the Dark One and their plan to imprison him, which we know that the dragon did before, and it caused the world to break. And they talk about how they made like a request for help, and that was declined. And Latra says basically the one source will be broken between men and women if what they do is, or they say it's a possibility that this could happen if when they imprison the Dark One, because they are touching like the true source of all power and they might corrupt it. So basically she's warning about what actually happened.
Right. Yeah, it's basically flashing back to show us stuff that was mentioned like way back in episode 1 about how everything got corrupted and how kind of, I mean, they don't actually show it, but they do, this flashback is 3,000 years ago. So it's showing the lead up to that, I guess.
Yeah. So, and he's saying like, none of this will happen because he has her help.
Right.
But he says it's like, it's my decision since I'm the dragon. So basically we know that he ends up doing it.
Yeah. And so he says that he calls himself the dragon.
Yeah.
Or she calls him the dragon, I guess. And he has that dragon emblem on his jacket or whatever. And then he says that she is the Tamerlane seat. Is this is different from the Amyrlin seat, right?
Yeah, I'm not sure what it means. Like it's the same thing, but maybe it's something to do with the men and the women. Like maybe she's the head of both. I'm not really sure.
Okay. Yeah, because prior to this, it's always been referred to as the Amyrlin, like with an A, Amyrlin seat. And this time it's referenced that she's the Tamerlane seat. So I don't know what to make of that exactly.
Supposed to assume it's something similar.
Yeah.
But not the same. Maybe the word just changed.
Yeah. Hopefully if they're making that distinction, I hope it's for a reason, and I hope that they explain it down the road.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But I mean, so that scene happens, and then it sort of pans to the
like zooms out or zooms into like a window, and then you see the outside.
Yeah.
And it's all like futuristic, right? So there's like flying, I don't know, I don't want to say flying cars, but there's flying ships, and there's big tall towers with that look modern, like that would look like
Yeah.
like current day modern, right? They're like kind of like they look kind of like steel and glass, and there's other taller towers that do look like they're maybe made of stone or brick
Hmm.
or whatever. But definitely it seems to be a higher degree of technology 3,000 years ago than there is in the present day. And I think
Yeah.
that's the important part.
Someone mentioned that the shot of the city, there's a parallel shot in episode 1 with all of the skyscrapers are like they look like rocks and they're all destroyed. So they hinted
Oh,
at it at the beginning.
yeah, that's a good catch. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, but basically the it's revealed that after the breaking, like it's basically post-apocalyptic, and so the world used to be futuristic.
Right. Okay, so that's our cold open, and then the credits roll or the intro rolls, and then the first scene after has Moraine and Rand, and they're traveling through the Blight still,
Hmm.
and they talk about it a little bit, and she says that the Blight, she explains that the Blight comes from the Dark One's prison and consumes everything in its path, and then they see like a mangled body that got destroyed
Yeah,
by the Blight, and I'm not
yeah,
sure like what that like how the blight destroys people because they're in the blight too. So is it like the blight isn't active anymore, and so that's why the blight isn't attacking them? That part's a little bit unclear, but I guess the point is that
uh-huh.
the blight is slash was dangerous, and that the dark one is the one causing it. I mean, is that
Yeah.
right?
I'm not sure how exactly they died, but I guess the assumption is that like when the because they talk about how it's expanding and going
Yeah.
closer to the like cities, that whenever it takes over, then it leaves that devastation. But I guess
Yeah.
you don't die when you go in it after it goes through.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, so nothing really much going on
Yeah.
there. And then the next scene is Moraine and Rand see Land's hometown, and it's been like consumed by the blight. And Moraine says that it's been like that for 40 years and that the Dark One's strength is building.
Yeah, and he said like it looks like it's longer than 40 years because of how bad it looks.
Right. And then Rand asks her if it was hard to leave Land behind, like now, and she
Yeah.
doesn't answer. So, okay.
I guess that means she doesn't want to say no because that would be a lie. She can't say no.
Yeah, no
She doesn't want
lying.
to say
She still can't lie.
so she doesn't want to say yes either, so she just says nothing.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, that's a good point. And so next scene, we're kind of blow through these early scenes because they're probably some of the least important of the episode,
Hmm.
I think. Next scene is Lan talking to Nynaeve on the balcony, and Lan still can't feel anything. I
Yeah,
can't
so
feel
she
the
turns it
bond
off.
between, yeah, turn their bond off because they don't want, she doesn't want to be followed. Um,
Hmm.
so Nynaeve then says, like, I don't feel and before I say this, I don't feel like this was a plot point that was followed up on very well. Nynaeve says that she when she tracked them earlier, she wasn't tracking, she was actually tracking Moraine and
Yeah.
not them, like not them meaning she wasn't tracking Rand or um Egwin or anybody. She was actually tracking Moraine, and that Moraine has a tell. She says that's her phrasing. I think that she has a tell, and that
Uh-huh.
Nynaeve can show him or show them how to track Moraine.
Yeah. So at first I
And
thought it was channeling, but Land can't channel, so
yeah, but then I don't know. Am I right? Did they just let that drop? Like, does that ever followed up on anywhere? Like later in the
only the
episode?
fact that he found her.
Yeah, I
They
guess
don't talk
so.
about it, but
But they don't reveal what it is, which I think is kind of
yeah, I'm not
unfair.
sure if that's
Little
like
yeah.
something that we're supposed to think about or it's just like a side comment as to how he
Yeah.
found her.
Yeah. So to wrap that scene up, the Nynaeve says that she's decided to go to Tarvalon, um,
Yeah,
to be something greater than a wisdom. She wants to
which
be.
is interesting, right? Because she's always hated the Aes Sedai.
Yep. But yeah, I mean, I don't know what her choice is though. She's from the Two Rivers, right? And Two Rivers is, I suppose, destroyed. I have to assume so because we've never revisited the Two Rivers, much like we haven't revisited hardly anything that
Uh-huh.
we progress through on this story. So I mean, it's not like she can. I assume she can't go back to the Two Rivers to be the wisdom there. So she would have to go to a completely different town and then somehow. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, my point is, I don't think she could just walk into any old town and then just declare that she's the new wisdom. I guess she could find a town that didn't have a wisdom and then kind of take over, but not take over, but become their wisdom.
Mm.
But that
Yeah,
seems complicated and dangerous. So I guess I'm not surprised that she's gonna go back to
yeah.
do something else.
Well, I know we talked about last episode or something like that, that the Two Rivers is still around in the books, but
Oh,
I
okay.
can't remember what the show has said. But I think you're supposed to assume it's still there because like Tam is still alive and presumably Matt's sisters. But I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I presume nothing. Like I don't know if we're supposed
Yeah,
to think that everyone died or some people were able to get away or
because there was that group of people at the very end of the first episode,
yeah, that's true.
maybe like a dozen people.
Yeah. Okay, and then the next scene, Rand, is another dream sequence that Rand has. Do you want to talk us through that one? Because I hate these dream sequences. So you better take this one.
Yeah, so he wakes up from a dream and like Moraine is asking like what did you dream? But then she's stabbed through the mouth, kind
Yeah.
of like the back of her mouth,
Right.
and then like the man in the mask that Rand has been seeing throughout the season
Yeah.
shows up, and he takes off the mask, and we see like his face now, and we're supposed to assume that this is the Dark One, and
Yeah.
he's talking to Rand like he knows him because he's referring to him as a dragon. He says like I didn't expect it was you, and he starts calling him Luce because he knew Luce Theron in like his previous life. Um, but Rand knows it's a dream, so like he kind of tries to fight back. Um, but the Dark One like notices on the sword the heron, and he's like asking where you got that. And he says, "My father," and the Dark One's still taunting him and says, "It's not your father. I knew your father," and all that. But anyways, Rand wakes himself up from the dream.
Yeah. Well, he like kills himself in the
Yeah,
dream. Like he
by
impales
stabbing
himself
himself.
on, yeah, on his sword. And then he
So
wakes up. But before we move on though, do you think it's weird that the only confirmation we have that
mhm.
the cold open from the last episode with the fight in the woman fighting in the snow and then giving birth, and
Uh-huh.
then Rand's, who we believe was Rand's, the man who
Tam.
raised Rand, not his father, but like his adoptive father or whatever you want to call surrogate father or whatever. That's the only confirmation we have in this entire show that that's correct, and it comes in the form of a dream where
Well,
we're
we
not.
had last episode.
What did
Min
they?
mentioned it too.
Who did?
Min, the girl that can see
Oh,
things, she
oh,
said like she saw the woman in the snow.
okay. Then I just forgot about that. Then
Yeah, I think that we might not have talked about it in the episode, maybe,
yeah,
but like because I actually went back because we couldn't remember who like the other moments of channeling.
yeah,
Remember? So I
yeah.
went back and I remember like they flash and show the man and he takes off his helmet and it's Tam, and
Oh, okay,
like they did some de-aging on him, and Min like mentions that she saw that,
okay, okay.
and but yeah, like they don't specifically say it
Yeah.
out loud.
Right. Okay. I just thought it was weird. It's like, is that going to be the only like mention to the audience that
Yeah,
that what we are, but that what many of us assume is actually correct? And it's weird that it would take place like in a dream where we're kind of not
yeah.
supposed to believe anything. You know what I mean? It's like it's tricky when it's a dream because you're like, what am I supposed to? What is true and what is false? Because it's a dream sequences, and traditionally dream sequences used in shows and books aren't always what happens,
Oh,
isn't always what it seems to be. Okay, so Rand stabs himself to wake up from the dream, and then what happens next?
yeah. So then it's like a repeat of what happened in the dream where
Yeah, right.
Moraine says like, "Tell me what you dream because dreams have power."
Yep.
But does he mention that he saw the Dark One? I didn't write that down, but uh,
I think that she assumes it. I don't know if he says it, but there's
yeah.
definitely like they both understand that that's what he saw. So
Mhm. And but so then Moraine like, I guess Moraine kind of says like, "What is your plan?" And Moraine kind of mentions that she brought this object, which is called a Sangria, and basically,
did they say that in the episode, or is that from the book?
she says it.
Okay.
I mean, it's only like one line of dialogue, but basically, what the object does is it increases your power when you channel into it.
Yeah.
So it's like a wooden man that she gives him, and she says like, when you use this, your power will increase 100-fold, and basically use it in the eye so that you can imprison the Dark One. Uh,
So yeah, this whole thing complicated things for me because there okay, so we know that yeah, so this gets so complicated. So okay, so we're supposed to believe that Rand is the
mhm.
Dragon Reborn, although we've never seen Rand channel.
Other than the
However,
flashbacks
yeah,
or like the reveals.
right. But those are kind of like minor things, right? And he doesn't seem to do it often, or
And Moraine
sometimes I
says
think
she can't teach him either.
yeah, and sometimes it seems like in those flashbacks, it seems like he's just doing it kind of instinctually
Yeah,
or instinctively.
very much
Um,
so.
yeah, and so he's not, he's kind of reacting, like he does it in reaction to like circumstances. So, but we've seen other men channel in the
Mhm.
show, most notably the character
Okay.
that, yeah, was that his name, Logain?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what I wonder is why couldn't, if Logain, let's say, had this device, this is it Sangreal?
Hmm. Sign.
If he had it and it increased his power 100-fold, why couldn't he fight the Dark One?
Yeah, I guess the only thing stopping him was that the Aes Sedai were getting rid of all male channelers. So,
Yeah. So I'm just thinking like, okay, way back in episode 3 or whatever, when or 2 or 3, whenever we're introduced, what if Moraine just gave him this little doohickey and was
uh,
like, here, this is the force multiplier. We're gonna take you, we're gonna take you to meet the Dark One. Let's go. Like, why did
yeah,
they
they
just
don't
not
really
want to
say.
give him? I mean, I can think of reasons, like I can kind of conjecture reasons, like, okay, they didn't want to give him that much power because he's a loose cannon, or they can't trust him, or you know they can kind of wave their hands around and say, well, he's not the chosen one, and therefore his power isn't true, or his his um
Yeah,
whatever. But it seems kind of weird to be like, here's your special weapon, and it's just like this little device that she
like
gives
a little
him.
man sitting cross-legged
Yeah, it's like a
wearing
little
a hat.
statue. And I don't understand. It doesn't seem to be anything that would prevent anyone else from using that. Like it doesn't, you know what I mean? Like they don't make a point to say this is a tool that only the Dragon Reborn can use. They
So
just
I guess
say, here's a thing and you
like
should
to
use
get
it.
philosophical, like if a false dragon did something that the dragon was prophesized, then wouldn't he just be the dragon? So Logain can
Yeah.
actually be the dragon, but they
Yeah.
stopped him.
Well, So yeah, well, now it occurs to me that if that they say 150 times that if you're not the Dragon Reborn and you go the Eye of the World, it'll like drive you insane or whatever.
Yeah, I mean,
So maybe that's why. Like maybe we can say, well, he couldn't. No other male
but
Chandler could go to the Eye of the World because they're not unless they're the Dragon Reborn. And then
Moraine also says, like he asks later in the episode, Moraine says like, "Won't you die?" And she doesn't answer, but like obviously she's fine.
yeah. Okay,
So
that's weird. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know that we need to unpack that any farther, but is it like
I
that in the
mean,
book? Is it explained?
the book doesn't have the whole statue thing.
Oh, not at all. Okay, that's weird.
Yeah, and in the book, it's not Randon Moraine. He goes with everyone. They all go together.
Oh, really? I wonder why they
Yeah,
changed it so drastically for the show.
I think they wanted to give the people more storylines. Like I don't know,
Okay.
but
Yeah.
I think the thing you're saying though, it like holds true to the book. So like nothing was stopping Logain from being the dragon, but I guess Rand might be more powerful if since he actually is the dragon. Like maybe.
Right. I think nothing is changed. Nothing is stopping. I think my point was what no nothing was stopping another male Chandler from using that device.
Yeah. So.
But uh, but maybe there's other reasons why it needs to be the Dragon
Or
Reborn to
maybe the
fight the
Dark
Dark
One
One or
wouldn't
whatever.
care about Logain if you went there, so he wouldn't even reveal himself, or he
Yeah,
might kill him immediately.
that's a strong point. Okay, but let's power through here. And so
Yeah. So
Moraine gives Rand the device.
yeah,
Says he
and
should use it to imprison the Dark One again, and Rand says Moraine. And then in a kind of abrupt, not an abrupt change of subject, but then they change the subject a little bit to and Rand says that Moraine, like, hey Moraine, you thought Egwin was the dragon, didn't you? And
so to further your point, she wouldn't be able to use the statue. So what was her plan if Egwin was a dragon?
that is a great point. That ruins the whole story.
Because
So,
she doesn't answer, so it makes it seem like yeah, she thought it was Egwin.
oh man, I think we just broke the whole show.
She had contingency plans.
Yeah, there was a plan B. It was a real strong plan B. So, okay.
Uh,
Next scene is Egwin and Nynaeve. Do you want to tell us what happened? They're on the balcony still. Seems
yeah,
like there's a lot of balcony scenes this episode.
I think they're kind of talking about what they should do, and like if Rand's okay, and Nynaeve says that she can't really sense anything, but Egwin tries to, and she's able to sense uh, the same thing that happened during the attack on the two rivers. Like she can feel the Dark One's army coming, and it's even stronger than it was when they attacked the two rivers.
Yeah. So it's this scene is just a little bit more foreshadowing.
Pretty much.
Yeah. Okay. And then the next scene we go back to Rand and Moraine.
Yeah. So this is where he asks, like, "Can you teach me?" And she says, "Like, I cannot teach you anything."
Helpful.
Yeah, because well, one because it will push him to madness because all male channelers go evil, and two, I guess you're supposed to assume that like the way that men channel is different than the way that women do. So she can't even teach him. But then this is where she says like, "You will feel it when you need it. Like when you're afraid, you will be able to touch it and embrace it."
Yeah.
And she mentions a story of when she was young and she was having trouble channeling at the tower, the White Tower, and her master, like one of the Aes Sedai, would beat her with the one power, like with fire and air, and just wouldn't stop, like kept relenting on her. And Moraine said she was able to use her pain and fear to force the channeling to stop and like to grab those grab the power that she was beating her with. So she says when your life's on the line, like the power will be there for you, which we noted like this. That's the only time we've seen Rand channel is like when he needed to escape or needed to save someone.
Yeah. Okay. I don't think I have much to say about that.
Yeah. The only thing I was gonna say is maybe that this person they're setting up to show up later from her past.
Oh, yeah, it could be. Who knows though? They drop so many of those kind of
Yeah.
little stories and references, and they don't pay off down the line. So don't hold your breath. Okay, next scene is Egwin, Perrin, Nynaeve, and Loyal, and they are in the bar, in the men's bar. I don't know
Uh-huh.
if it's a men's bar, but the bar where Min is the bartender. And just as a reminder, Min is the bartender that can see like into the future or whatever.
Mhm.
They want to know what she told Moraine. I'm not sure why they're so curious. Why are they so curious about this?
I mean, I guess they want to know like Bran's the dragon, like, and is that
Okay,
why they left?
I guess so. That makes sense. And she says, so she wants to know what she told Moraine, and then Min says, "I'm not going to tell you what I told Moraine." And then they have a longer conversation. And Min says that everything that she sees comes true eventually. And then she looks into Nynaeve and sees her getting stabbed, and she sees Perrin with like a group of knights. But then she
Yeah.
doesn't see anything for the rest of them, I don't think. I
Yeah.
don't know what I'm supposed to. I don't know what I'm supposed to get from that because we don't see that happen in this episode.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Really,
More stuff that for
yeah,
later.
could be season 2 stuff, I guess. Okay, and then next scene is with Rand and Moraine again, and they see the Dark One's army approaching.
Mhm.
And then we switch into another scene, and now we're back with what is the name of the town that they're in?
Faldara.
Saldara.
Yeah.
Faldara. Okay, so now we're back there, and why don't you take us through what these guys are up to?
Yeah. So we have Egilmar and he's the lord of the city, and then his sister Amelisa, and we introduced the two new characters. So the guy with the eye patch is named Uno, and the man with like the high top and I think he had a beard, his name is Inktar.
Isn't it funny the guy with the eye patch is named Uno?
Yeah,
That's supposed to be
kind
a
of on the
joke?
nose. I
Yeah.
guess it's on the nose or a nickname
Yeah.
or something. But they sort of know that the Trollocs are coming because they keep appearing north, and they're getting ready for like the battle. And Inktar says like there's dark friends inside the walls too that they might have to deal with. Uh, but basically, Egilmar says his plan is to just hold the gap, which is like, so there's a city and its walls, and then there's like an outer border called the gap that they can defend to stop anyone from getting into the city.
It's kind of like a bottleneck through
Yeah,
some like mountain style geographic uh formation.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it looks more like a ridge than a mountain, but you take my point.
hmm And Egilmar tells Uno and Ingtar that they know what they need to do. And then Amelie says just saying like this is plan is not going to work. The gap won't hold.
Yeah, like there's not enough to hold them back or whatever. I
hmm
mean, it's not a bad plan as far as the plan goes. Like if they're all going to come through the same bottleneck, then you try to kill them as they come through the bottleneck. That's
Yeah,
pretty
and they
tried
say
and
like the
true
cities never
stuff. Yeah.
fallen, and like the
Yeah.
women protect the city while the men protect the gap.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's that scene.
Okay. Next scene we have we're back to Rand and Moraine, and they finally arrive at the Eye of the World,
Uh-huh.
and it's a giant pit in the ground.
Yeah.
Okay. And I was hoping for something a little cooler, but that's what we have. So it's a pit in the ground, essentially. Rand asks Moraine if she will die there.
Yeah. So we mentioned this.
Yeah. Because of all this, because of what she said over and over and over. And she doesn't answer, right? Or does she say no, or does she say nothing?
He just starts walking in. She doesn't say
Yeah.
anything. which
Okay.
is typical for her.
Yeah, right. And then we switch scenes, we switch locations. We go back to Lan,
Yeah, so
and
he's tracking with like that thing that Nynaeve gave him,
yeah, okay.
whatever that might be.
Yeah. So Lan's has caught up with them, and I don't know what Lan like. What is his? I'm not exactly sure what his, uh, like what his end game is here, because he must know that he can't really help with
I guess he just
fighting the Dark One. So
I guess he thinks he can help somehow.
I guess.
Or stop
Uh,
them from going in at all.
yeah. Oh, do you think he's trying to stop them?
I'm not sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
It's
we
not
don't really
explained.
know.
It could be anything. Okay. And then we go back to Faldara. And why don't you take us through that part?
Yeah, so it's a scene in like Agelmar's chambers, and Amelisa is like dressing him with his armor, and she keeps saying like the city won't hold, and this is where Agelmar says like the women will hold the city if the men don't hold the gap, and he thinks that this battle is going to be the last battle from the prophecy, and he says the city is going to fall no matter what because of the Dark One. So all they can do is really slow down the Dark One's forces to give Rand time to imprison him.
Yeah. And there's all that talk about the armor, right? She wants him to wear different armor, like their dad's armor or something.
Yeah, I guess I'm not sure.
Somebody else's armor, but he's like, no, I'm going to wear my armor. And yeah, that's like a big part of the conversation.
I mean, I'm not sure if like that's like the battle, like certain armor that for the last battle or something, but
yeah, I don't know. Doesn't really, that whole thing didn't amount to anything. I'm not sure why they made such a big deal about it. Anything you want to say about that
no, I think
scene?
we're good.
Okay. So then we flash back over to the Eye of the World. Moraine says that they don't know what the Eye of the World used to be.
Yeah, she said it was like stripped from the records.
Did someone ask her? Like, it
I
just
think
seemed
Rand kind of is asking like, "What is this place?" And he sort of is saying he
Okay.
remembers it, and that she says like it's stripped from the records.
they don't know. Oh, Moraine, always mysterious. Can't. Why can't you just? Why? I don't know. Are they saving that? Like, are the writers saving that for a big reveal at some other point down the road? Like, why
For
can't?
the eye,
Yeah, like what the eye used to be. Like, why not just?
I don't think so because this part's all made up too, like from not in the
Yeah.
books.
Why don't they just tell us then, or not ask? Like, why? Why have Rand ask a question that Rain's not going to answer?
Yeah.
And
Well, she doesn't answer most questions.
well, that's true too. Okay. The Rand says, like you said, Rand said that he has memories of this place, and then he sees visions of Luz and the Dark One.
Yeah, like a ghost little image.
Yeah, he says this is where he fought the Dark One before.
Yeah, and he imprisoned him there.
Yeah.
And you see, I think in the scene, like the whole center of the room is this image of on the floor of like the yin yang symbol for the Aes Sedai, like the male and the female.
Yeah.
half.
So we're supposed to think. So this is really kind of cemented for me that Rand can share, like, see visions of Luz from 3,000 years ago.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Maybe.
Yeah. Okay. Are we supposed to think that Luz is his dad? Can't be, right? That's the gap
Yeah.
is too. It's like 3,000 years ago.
Yeah, I think so. Like the flashback scene, I think must have been like 20 so years ago.
Right. Do we know who? I guess we don't know who Rand's dad is,
Not yet.
but it must be some kind of relation to Luz, or am I just off there? Like, is it just he can see
don't-
Luz's he can see visions of what Luz did just because he's the dragon, and that is separate from being like related.
They haven't really said if he's related yet, but I think you're supposed to assume that since it like the baby was born at Dragon Mount, and they knew Moraine knew like the specific time the baby was born, like that they knew somehow that he was reborn into that baby at a certain time.
Oh, like a reincarnation kind of thing.
Yeah,
Okay.
because like she knew remember Moraine knew the exact time, and she was looking
Yeah.
for people that were born at that time.
Right.
Or I guess she
Okay.
didn't know the exact, but she knew the time frame
Yeah.
because all the kids were the same age.
Right. Okay. So then we have another dream sequence with Rand. This time he's in a cottage. There's a baby crib,
Yeah.
and he looks outside. He sees Egwene with a baby.
Hmm.
And that's pretty much it, right? That's like it's like a short, like we go back to this later,
Yeah.
right? Okay. And
Yeah. So
then
Moraine sees him on the ground, like unconscious.
right, and tries to wake him up. And then the Dark One appears
Hmm.
like in Rand's dream. And she tries to attack him. Right. Why don't you take me through this? Because I'm forgetting the ins and outs of this part.
I think Moraine is like holding onto Rand, and then the man appears, the Dark One, and she tries to fight back with her channeling. So this is outside the dream, and
Oh, yeah. Okay.
he does like some sort of channeling on her,
Yeah.
and basically blocks off her powers. And then he says like it must be awful to know the power and not be able to touch it.
Right. I'd kind of forgotten about this scene.
Hmm.
Okay. And that's kind of it, I guess.
Yeah, because so like basically the rest of the episode is going to be flashing between our main scenes like quickly.
Yeah. So Algamar and the army charge. Next scene is Algamar and the army charge at the
Yeah.
Trollocs as they're approaching that gap, or that what
So they leave the
I would
city.
call a bottleneck. They call it the gap. Same
Yeah.
thing. Amelisa and the women begin preparing the city. Min has packed up her things.
Yeah,
and
so she's just getting out of there.
Yeah, like she's leaving.
She doesn't want to help. She
Yeah.
just gets, and a large group of people are just getting out of there. Like there's several wagons.
Yeah. Ingtar and Uno, they show
Yeah.
them beginning to dig below the throne with
Yeah.
pickaxes, but they don't explain why, but they do later.
Yeah, so the only thing you know is that Egilmar told them they know what they need to do, and then they start digging here, like, and they remove the throne from
Yeah,
its
they like
seat.
scooted out of the way, and yeah. Which is kind of cool. Like that was suspenseful. I thought I was definitely curious to see what they were doing.
Yeah.
Next we go to Loyal.
Yeah.
And Loyal and Egwene and Nynaeve are all together, and Loyal tells them that all the women who can channel are needed to help defend the city.
Yeah, since Amelisa thinks that they're not going to be able to hold the gap, she's already preparing for the women to help.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, smart.
Mhm.
Okay, and then we have the battle at the gap begins, and the Trollocs attack, and there's archers firing, and the whole 9 yards. Big battle scene. And why don't you tell us what is going on with
So
out just outside the city with Nynaeve and those people?
oh well, so like they're going to, let's see, I lost my spot. All right, so yeah, so basically they're sort of right outside the walls of the city, and there's like Amelisa, Nynaeve, Egwene, and two others.
Yeah,
And
there's two other randos.
Yeah, red shirts, and they're there to basically be the spot that to defend the walls.
Yeah,
so that no one can get into the city.
So they're like banding together. Like the point is that they're going to that Amelisa is going to kind of lead them in how to do this.
Hmm. And then so we go into the city, and Perrin's like getting frustrated with Loyal because, well, he's the way he is. Like, he's not panicking, and he's just sort of there, like, and he's always slow. But Perrin's saying like the way of the leaf is bullshit. Like, what is he supposed to do if the gates are breached? Is he supposed to stand there and let his friends die?
Right. I mean, these are fair questions.
Which I feel like they didn't really know what to do with Perrin, but
Yeah.
in this episode. But Loyal says like all you have to do is ask how to help, and someone will tell you how to help.
Yeah. Okay.
Uh,
And we'll find out a little bit later what that amounts to.
yeah. So then we go back to the dream world with Rand, and he's sort of embracing Egwin, and the Dark One's there, and he says like this can be the future that you can have with, so you can have your family with Egwin, and he says you can work with me to remake the world, and he can show Rand how to do that.
Yeah. He just keeps saying, he keeps returning to that terminology or that phrasing where he says you can make the world how you want. Like
Yeah.
you can remake the world however you want. And he says that in the exact same phrasing like multiple times. And I wasn't sure what to make of that exactly. If he was just if he just thought that was like persuasive, like
Or like a trick.
yeah, like you can do whatever you want. And that would persuade him to join him or whatever. But yeah, I don't know. Anyway, so then back in the real world, Moiraine puts a knife up to Rand's neck.
Yeah, because she has no powers now.
Yeah.
But she has to use her knife.
Yeah, which is nice. I think it's nicely done. And then the Dark One says that the Dark One is setting Rand up to choose, right? To choose the light or the dark, basically, essentially. And Moiraine says that if Rand doesn't choose the light, that she'll quote choose for him, which I think we're supposed to mean is she'll just kill him or slit his throat.
But I mean, who's going to imprison the Dark Knight? If they'll still lose, just Rand will be dead.
Yeah, that whole thing is kind of weird. Like, also, how does she know if he chooses one way or the other, because she can't see what's going on in the dream world?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I mean, I guess she's just going by what the Dark One says, and he could just tell her whatever he wanted. I don't know. It seems like a flaw in that plot right there. Anyway, we go back with Uno and Intgar, and they're still digging by the throne, and Perrin comes in and asks how Perrin and Loyal come in and say, how can we help? And we switch and see that the siege is continuing. And then one of the Trollocs impales Anglemar in the chest with a spear.
Yeah.
Which, okay.
Sort of what's the word? Unceremoniously kills him.
Yeah. Next scene, the Dark One begins.
Yeah, in the dream world.
Yeah. So the Dark One in the dream world begins slitting Egwin's throat, and Rand shouts to stop. And then when he does that, the Dark One heals her, like undoes the slitting or whatever. He's got something in his hand. Did you notice? He's got like a Dark One has like a I don't know what to call it, like a
like
metal
a circle almost.
It's almost like brass knuckles.
Yeah, it's like an oval shaped thing.
Yeah, in his hand. And is that what he's using to channel with?
Maybe it's another sangria, like, or something, but we don't really know.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I mean, they made it a point to show it at least twice. They showed it toward the beginning of the episode.
Yeah.
And then they show it here. So they definitely want us to notice it, but they don't quite tell us why it's important. Seems like they do that a lot.
Yeah.
And then Rand asks how to make this reality real.
Yeah.
And then the Dark One says that it's simple. Not sure.
Just join me.
I mean, I'm not sure what the make of that except for the completely obvious.
Yeah.
And then we get a pretty interesting scene with your buddy Padden Fane.
So we've got a few women that are guarding, like, I guess, one of the back doors into the city.
Yeah.
And so we hear a knock, and Padden knows, like, I guess, some secret passphrase.
Yeah, something about a kingfisher bird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess you're supposed to assume that a dark friend gave him the password and they let him in.
Yeah.
And he just kills these women that were guarding it, and he comes in with two fades. And so he's up to trouble inside the actual gates of the city now.
Yeah. Okay.
And it's like there's no doubt that he was a dark friend now.
Yeah. I mean, this is the big payoff that they've been foreshadowing throughout the whole
Yeah.
season, that Padden Fane is going to be an important character. And here is the beginnings of that payoff.
Mm-hmm. So then we go back to the digging. So Perrin is helping now, and they finally get what they were looking for, which is wooden, or I mean a steel box.
Yeah.
And they say it holds the horn of Valir.
Yeah.
Which is for the dragon at the last battle.
Yeah, it seems. Yeah. So the reason they say, okay, blow, they so that they explain to Perrin and Loyal that this is the horn.
Yeah.
And that when you blow the horn, it summons what? Help from where?
So it's like the Age of Legends, like those previous heroes that we learned about.
So they're supposed to show back up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Basically to help the light side defeat
Right.
the dark.
Okay. But then they say that only the dragon can blow the horn.
Yeah, something like
because, and they give a reason why. Do you remember why? It was a very flimsy reason, but I don't remember what it was.
Yeah, I didn't write it down.
Yeah.
Not sure.
It was something about the dragon needed to be there to make sure, to ensure the victory, or something along those lines, I think, but it wasn't a very persuasive reason. Okay, so they've exhumed the horn is still in its storage container. And then we see the women outside the city preparing for the Trollocs because they've gotten through the gap.
Mm-hmm.
And is her name Amelisa?
Yeah.
Amelisa.
Amelisa,
yeah, says, okay, I'm gonna reach out to you ladies with the one power or whatever, and when you feel it, don't go ahead and accept it from me or whatever, or channel through me or whatever. So this is similar to the trick they did back when they were trying to defeat the false dragon guy.
Oh yeah, when they all helped.
Whatever his name is. Yeah, whatever. What was his name? You said it earlier.
Logain.
Logain. Right, when they were trying to
when they were shielding him from using magic.
Yeah, they all did that, where they all channeled through somebody else. I can't remember the red Aja woman. I can't think of her name.
Liandrin.
Thank you. So so that's what they're going to do this again, it looks like. And then we go back to the dark one. Why don't you take over there?
So we're back in the dream world, and the dark one's basically saying, like, if you want to make this world a reality, let go of all your anger and fear and just tap into the one power and turn it to one, make your reality possible. And Rand begins to actually channel. So now we've seen him channel without trickery. I mean, he's still in the dream world, but
yeah. Question mark?
Yeah, so the dark one says, like, this will break my chains or strengthen them. So this is his decision that he has to make. Still.
Yeah. So this still seems weird to me, that like the dark one is there telling Rand that he is going to make or break him. I don't know. It's fine. It's what the whole thing was. I this is not how I envision. I guess that my point is that this is not how I envisioned this confrontation to be. I thought it would be more of like a physical, like a
Yeah,
duel almost, And
and
this
so
seems more like just the Dark Ones being kind of whiny and trying to like persuade him to do something, which is
yeah,
not
and all
how
of
I
this
thought
is
that was going to
confirmed for
happen.
the show too.
Is
So
it?
like, there's no dream. Uh, I mean, like, so he talks to Rand in his dreams throughout the whole first book, but there's no like showdown in the dream world at the end. It's all physical, like you were thinking.
Okay.
So they made that up for the show.
Interesting. Okay.
Uh,
And then we switch back to the girls outside the
yeah,
city, continuing to channel. And then we
yeah. So
quickly
it's
go ahead.
quick succession of different events.
Yeah, these are all quick like cuts. And then we see the men digging up the horn in the box.
Uh huh. Does they actually have it out and
Yeah,
ready?
like it's visible or whatever. And then we see the girls creating a giant energy of channeling
Yeah,
that like calls down, like basically calls down a bunch of lightning and destroys all or most of the
there's like
attacking
a
army,
nuke.
I guess. Yeah. It was actually kind of cool. Like it reminded me of some stuff I've seen in video games before where they
Uh huh.
can use a power to call down lightning on your enemy.
Hmm.
Okay, then we shift back to the dark one, and I'm gonna let you take over here.
Yeah, so he's still trying to convince him to break his chains, and he says, "Make the world how you want it to be."
He
So
keeps saying that.
yeah. So Rand makes his decision. He says, like, this might be the world that I want, but it's not the one that Egwin wants. And he says that's not her. This woman is not Egwin, um, because he's saying that she doesn't want this life. She wants to become an Aes Sedai. Like, so he doesn't love that version of Egwin. He loves the real version.
Yeah.
Uh, so he decides the light. Like he chooses the light, and so that the dream world disappears. Right at this point.
Is this the point where he uses the device to channel through and
Yeah, I think
gets rid of
so.
the dark one? It's not clear if he kills him. It's just
Yeah, he
he
just ends the
yeah, he like
thing.
takes out the device, the little statue icon thing, and puts it in his hand and it channels through it, and it kind of goes out toward the dark one, and then the next thing we know, the dark one is gone, and there's like a bunch of damage that's been done to the environment, and the dark one is gone, but I'm not sure what that means exactly. Like if he just like
Yeah. Well,
banished him away, or if he killed him, or what
I think
exactly.
Rand assumes that it's over and he's in prison.
Yeah,
So
I think that's probably right. Okay, and then we go back to Padan Fane,
yeah,
and
so he's shown up where they're digging the horn, and
yeah,
he's basically stabbed everyone
yeah,
except for Perrin.
including Loyal.
So yeah, Loyal, Uno, Ingtar. I think you're supposed to assume like they're all killed, or at least mortally wounded.
Yeah, did Loyal dirty like that?
And then Perrin's sort of like here witnessing it. I'm
Yeah.
not sure. Did he leave or something? I can't remember.
Um,
He leave and come back, or is it just
I don't think so. Maybe I'm not remembering it though.
yeah? Because they don't show it happening, but I think Perrin just kind of shows up and he's like, "What on earth?"
Yeah, yeah, they do kind of skip. Like there's a bunch of time that they skip through.
Yeah,
I mean, yeah,
but he gets the horn. So
yeah. So Padan Fane has the horn, and I don't know how much more we want to say about that. I don't want to skip ahead too much.
yeah,
Um, okay, then we flash back to the girls channeling. They all
yeah,
fall over except for Amelisa,
yeah,
who says that, she's basically like drunk on power, and she says she can feel everything and she can't let go. Like they keep asking her, she's asked to let go because everyone else, all the other women are being like burned up or being drained or whatever, they're dying. And
yeah.
they
So
ask
they
Emily,
call it burnout
yeah, okay.
when you have too much power.
and they ask Amelisa to stop, and she says, "I can't stop," and it doesn't seem like she wants to stop anyway. And
So
then
she just
Egwene,
becomes like a marshmallow.
yeah, and then eventually, right? And then Egwene falls over, like she gets burned out, and then Nynaeve does some kind of trickery where she shields her
Yeah,
or
she
removes
focuses
some
it
of the
all
burnout.
through her.
Yeah, she,
Basically, Nynaeve sacrifices herself so that Egwene doesn't die
yeah.
from the burnout.
I was just interested in like how exactly she did that because it looked like Egwene was burned out, and then she was able to like, rem- like, reverse the effects.
Well, I think it's the other way around that Nynaeve um, saves Egwene and then Egwene reverses it from
Yeah.
Nynaeve,
Okay.
right? Isn't it?
Well, yeah. I mean, the big picture is you're right, but I was just when Egwene falls over,
Yeah.
her eyes look burned out to me.
I think she was close, but not
Yeah.
as close as Amelisa was.
Yeah.
So
And then when Nynaeve goes down to her to like shield her or whatever, it seems like she gets her
yeah.
eyes coming back to normal. And then,
Okay.
like you said, Amelisa dies from like
yeah.
overloading or whatever. And then Nynaeve seems to be dead too because she was the one like
No,
shielding Egwene.
yeah.
But Egwene is able to, yeah, we're skipping ahead a little bit here, but Egwene is able to like
Yeah.
do some kind of channeling to bring Nynaeve back. That whole thing is
Yeah.
unclear to me, like how that was
It's
meant
kind
to
of hard to
work.
talk about since it's so flashing
Yeah.
back and forth so much, but yeah.
Yeah. Okay. But going on to the next scene with Pad and Fane, he says that why don't you take this part because he reveals some stuff that I guess
Yeah.
is kind of important.
So he's saying he basically reveals that he works for the Dark One. He says like the five of you in one village were found by Moraine and the Dark One. And he said that the Trollocs were not there to kill you; they were there to bring you to the Dark One. And he
Kind of
says it's all
flesh them out or flush them out.
yeah. So Patton says it's like all about balance, and he just says like they want to turn you to the shadow. They don't want to kill you. And he mentions like various things, and they cut to Matt returning to the White Tower.
Yeah, he
Uh,
says all this stuff about balance. It's important to have balance in the power to be balanced. Although none of this is clear. Like none of this is like the reasons for all of this are not explained at all. But he's saying that there needs to be balance amongst the one power and whatever, and because all of this is not very well defined. And then they show Matt near the like back at the White Tower where they left him, insinuating that he is like like part of the balance that is the dark side, right?
yeah, maybe. I mean, they want you to think that at least.
Yeah, I think so for sure.
But can you trust Pat and Fane? Like,
Yeah, I mean that's a fair point. Yeah. Okay, then what do we have next?
so this is so Rand is out of the dream world now,
Yeah.
and he's basically talking to Moraine. Um, and he says, like, is it true that I'm gonna go crazy? And she says, yes. And so then he says,
Yeah. Yeah. You're gonna go crazy.
and then he's like, will you do one thing for me? Will you tell everyone else that I died here? And I'm just gonna
Yeah.
leave. And she's like, I can't lie. And he says, you'll figure something out.
Yeah, this was a surprising twist for me. Was it for you? Does this happen in the book?
Yeah, so I think that
Okay.
it happens in book 3, so I think they're going to start combining things from 2 and 3.
Oh, wow. So this happens. So does this battle at the Eye of the World happen in book 1, or does this
Yeah.
happen? Okay. So they're combining some. So in the book, what happens after the battle at the Eye of the World? Rand doesn't leave
Yeah, he leaves with everyone else.
with everybody else, but he
Yeah,
doesn't
they go
ask.
back to Faldara.
Okay, but he doesn't ask like tell everyone that I died and all that.
No,
He does
he
that at
doesn't do
some
that in book
point.
2 either,
Okay,
or
he does.
3.
So there's something in book 3, and at the end, as a result of that, he does this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Um, not that it matters in this context, but in the book they find the horn in the eye too.
Oh, rather than at Faldara.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting. Okay, then we go back to Paddon Fane, and he's taunting Perrin.
Uh-huh.
He's as he like approaches Perrin with
Yeah.
his dagger or knife or whatever, right? Is it? Yeah, something like that. And then we quickly switch back to Moraine. She's looking at this scene was weird to me. Moraine's looking at a crystal, like a white crystal. The ground is all cracked up. Lan finally arrives. Like,
Yeah. Conveniently
hey,
after
hey
the
guys, what
book.
did I miss? Yeah, Lan finally arrives. Moraine says that he's gone, talking about
Yes.
Rand. So that
So I guess
Rand,
you could assume that means he died. Like that's her way of lying because
right.
she
She's
says
just
he's
being
gone.
vague. Yeah, vague.
So
But
she was
Rand
gonna
is,
tell everyone.
yeah. So she says Rand is gone. And then they're right again. They're right back at talking about unmasking again. Like why do they have to talk about that right then? It's not that important. You know what I mean?
Maybe
Like
he really
it's
wants to feel what she feels.
oh,
He was annoyed that she turned it off again.
so silly. Anyway, Moraine says Lan's like unmask.
Or they probably just wanted a way to mention that she can't channel. So
I
the
guess
easiest way would be
so.
to talk about the bond.
Plot reasons. Okay, so Moraine says I can't unmask because I can't channel or whatever.
Yeah. So I guess we're supposed to assume that she's been cut off like Logain was. She can't channel
What
anymore.
do they call that? Not neutered. They call it
So they call gentled for the
gentled.
males,
Yeah.
but there's a different word for the females,
Okay. Well,
but I can't remember right now.
that's okay. Okay, but so we established Moraine can't channel anymore, and she's putting forth the idea that
Yeah.
Rand is gone, but she
Her
doesn't say
white
that
lie.
that he's dead or whatever. Egwene channels to heal Nynaeve, which we already mentioned earlier
Yeah.
that was
So
going to happen.
it's sort of like they're
It
ending
was,
everything.
yeah, but I guess this is not exactly germane, but we know that Aes Sedai can't heal themselves, right?
Mhm.
But other Aes Sedai can heal other Aes Sedai. Was
Mhm.
that was the okay? Just wanted to make sure I had that
Yeah.
clear.
So
Okay, so she's even though neither one of them are Aes Sedai, they're still okay. I just couldn't remember if it was a certain like certain sects or whatever. They're not called
yeah.
sects. They're called
Well, like the Ajas.
Ajas. Yeah.
Yellow are healers, but
Right.
any Aes Sedai can heal.
Right. Okay. So then we see Rand wandering off.
He just goes alone.
Yep. And then we switch back to Moraine, and she's holding that white crystal. And
And
why don't you take over here, because I don't know that I understand this very well.
yeah, so I think do they say the name of what the gem is? I'm not sure, but she says this cannot be broken by anything, even the one power, but it was broken by Rand when he used the object. And
Yeah.
then she's saying like this is not the last battle. This was the first.
Right. I don't understand. I don't understand any of this gem stuff. Like, why is this supposed to be important?
Yeah, I'm not sure
What did
either.
they achieve with this gem? Like with using the gem instead of just saying these things. Like,
Yeah, this wasn't in the books either, so I don't know it. I'm the same boat as you.
I don't understand it at all. It's
Other than
very,
just saying he's very strong.
yeah, it's very weird to interject this gem lore into this story, especially right at this point.
And I
Very.
guess how do we know? How does she know that it's not the last battle? I guess
I have
he
no
knows that
idea.
he's not defeated. Then
But yeah, I don't understand I don't understand what what information this is giving her. Like
yeah,
that Rand was able to break some
maybe it's
kind of
another
gem
prophecy. I don't
thing.
know.
And yeah, it makes no sense. Whatever.
So that's the last thing we see of her.
Yeah. And then so we kind of have like the screen goes, I think the screen goes black and then
Mhm.
it comes back up, like it fades back in. And we see some text on the screen and it says something about that we're on the far western shore
Mhm.
now.
So this was mentioned in episode 5, I think, when Megan was saying that there's been ships disappearing.
Hmm. Okay, I didn't remember that.
Yeah, so they
Uh,
hinted at something going on there. So now we see what it was.
and what is that?
So I think there's like what 2 or 3 ships
Hmm.
approaching the shore.
It's more than that. I think it's closer to maybe a dozen.
Oh, okay.
It's a
So there's
lot.
like a
Yeah.
fleet is
Yeah.
approaching, and there's a little girl on the beach,
Yeah.
and
It's
they
poor
go
little
into
girl.
the yeah they go into the ship, and they you see that each ship has 2 women that are like gagged and collared, and they're being commanded to channel, and they sort of channel these giant waves onto the shore, and they just kill the girl. And
I
I guess
presume. Yeah. Well,
you're supposed to
yeah.
assume that they're invading.
Yeah. So they're channeling, just to be clear, like they all are channeling. In fact, the boats are all lined up like in parallel with one another.
Hmm.
And I don't know if it's 10 or 12 or 15 of them or whatever. And they all channel to create this massive like tidal wave that
Yeah.
begins to sweep towards the shore. And the shore that the little girl is standing upon. And
Right.
then the screen cuts. So we don't really see the wave land or anything that's going on.
Hmm. And so this you're supposed to kind of think that this is the new antagonist for season 2.
Yeah, these guys look cool though. I'll say that
Yeah.
much. Like the costume, like the design of the whole ships and the what everyone's wearing
Yeah, and then
look
one
pretty
thing to
cool.
note is since they killed someone, or I guess you're supposed to assume they killed someone, then these are not Aes Sedai because that would be breaking one of the oaths.
Mm, yeah, these are people. These are yeah. I mean, that's got to be the whole point of putting that little girl on the
Yeah.
shore is that show us that these are people on the dark side,
Hmm.
or certainly not Aes Sedai. I guess I don't know if I'm splitting a hair that I shouldn't, but um,
They're
definitely,
not good people.
yeah, they're not Aes Sedai. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
So
that's the kind of the blow by blow recap. Do you want to let's talk about our overall thoughts on the episode? Why don't you begin? Did you like
yeah,
this episode? Did you love it, hate it, or something in between?
yeah, definitely something in between.
Okay.
So I mean, I think in past few episodes we kind of said that like everything was like our impressions of the series would be sort of decided by if they nail the landing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like I just feel like it was sort of all over the place at times, and like they didn't really, I don't know, like they didn't really move the characters in a direction that like would make sense for how to resolve this. Like
Yeah.
you have a lot of like random, like so in episode 4 we had the fake out with everyone dying once, and Nynaeve heals them all, and so now we have that again here, where Egilmar and Melissa are dead, and Loyal, and like pretty much everyone except for Nynaeve and
Yeah.
Egwin. And so they're back to like the same thing they did before. Like they didn't know how to resolve the storyline without like random death
Yeah.
fake outs.
Um, I mean,
And
go ahead.
Oh, but then like so the only other thing like we kind of touched on the whole final confrontation was all like dream world, and it sort of didn't feel like it like they didn't really earn the conclusion.
Yep.
I mean, you see Rand channeling, but like all he really decided was that he wanted Egwene to live her life.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. I tend to agree with you. I was pretty underwhelmed
mhm,
by the finale, just not necessarily because of what happened, but because of how it happened. Like I didn't
yeah,
like the dream. I admit that I'm biased because never like dream sequences like that. I just never do. So I admit I'm
yeah,
biased, but I don't like how that all took place half in and half out, where the Dark One was both in and out, where he was with Rand in that kind of dream world, whatever, however we want to characterize that. And then he was also out with Moraine and kind of ping
yeah.
ponged back and forth.
And she didn't really do anything either.
Right. Yeah. So I thought that could have been handled differently. I thought the battle stuff was pretty good. Like
Yeah, the
this,
only thing about the battle was that it seems like they switched from the practical effects on the Trollocs to like they were basically CGI this time.
oh, I
Like,
didn't notice that so much.
because I know in the first episode we kind of, maybe the first and the second, like the Trollocs really looked like practical outfits.
Definitely. Yeah,
But
definitely.
like, especially the one that killed Egilmar looked like it was very poorly done CGI.
Yeah. I guess I
But
just didn't notice.
I'm not sure if that was like a reshoot thing, like script rewrites because of COVID
Oh,
or something like
could have
that,
been. Could have been.
or like they couldn't get back the extras
Yeah.
because of
Um,
if they had to cut down how many people could be on set.
could be. I don't, yeah. So I was just kind of disappointed overall. I felt like there was a lot that needed to happen in this last episode. And while it did happen, it happened kind of the pacing of the episode was kind of weird to me. Like
Yeah,
it
they
never
always have
felt
a problem with pacing.
yeah, it never felt very uh there wasn't a whole lot of tension. I felt like there's never a point in the show where I felt like any of the action or the consequences were intense. I think that's not
Well,
what you want.
especially now that they're doing so many people dying and coming back, like that takes away all the tension. Like if we're not even worried about Loyal because they could potentially heal him in episode one.
Yeah. So yeah, like you said, it happened earlier in the season once a bunch of people died, they brought them back.
Yeah,
And then it happened here again where Nynaeve and
Egwin.
help me out, Egwin both died and they kind of brought each other back.
Yeah,
So I don't know what to make of that. I mean, I kind of wish they just would have left them die, left at least one of them die just to show the audience that there are like actual consequences that characters can die. And
I guess that's what they might do with Amalisa.
I guess, but she's not, I don't know.
But
I kind
like,
of almost don't count that. She wasn't really even on screen for
yeah,
very long.
and like with Loyal, it's like I feel like they killed or like made you think he was killed because he's a fan favorite in the books, but they didn't really earn any of that here because he really hasn't done much.
No, not at all.
I mean, he had some funny moments, but he's not. He's just been there for the plot so far.
Yep. I will say, kind of shifting over to the positive stuff, as I feel
Yeah.
like where this has left the show, if the writers, if the writers decide they want to, they've left themselves in a good position to kind of break up the group a little bit. Like if
Mm-hmm.
Rand is going to be out on his own, that's a location that they can follow to. And then if you have Matt, it's still going to be back at the White Tower. They can
Yeah.
have some scenes there. And then you can still have scenes at Faldara because that's where the rest of them are.
Uh-huh.
And you've
Well, I think
of
the assumption that is that the people at fault are probably going to chase after Paddon Fane to get the horn back.
well, that's what I was gonna say. Then you also have Patton Fane, who is
Yeah.
off, so you can have the plot follow them a little bit. So, like a lot of our criticisms that we were talking about during the last episode about they're
Yeah.
not really following through with a lot of the interesting like ancillary characters and side characters and other settings that they visit. Like at least they left themselves in a good spot to where they can conveniently do something like that if they choose to. Now it'll really drive me crazy if they don't. Like if they somehow manage to bring them all back together like in one episode, that will drive me a little bit of crazy because that I think it's fairly obvious that that's the weakness of the show is that it's very all the scenes seem very samey because they're all together all the time. They're all in the same location nearly all the time.
Mhm.
And they don't really let the world breathe. Like there's so much made of the world building. I mean, that's what all the book is. All the books are really like when people talk about the Wheel of Time books, the thing that everyone is going to mention is the world building of the expansive universe and the world building that takes place, you know, that is an excruciating detail in the books. And here, I don't feel like you get that because they're focused to a fault on just following the same group of people all doing the
Mhm.
same thing. And where they do flesh out the world a little bit, they never follow through with it. So they kind of do a bunch of the heavy lifting. Like they do the heavy lifting of introducing us to the White Tower. They do the heavy lifting of introducing us to the White Cloaks. They do the heavy lifting of introducing us to of Loyal's
You'll,
race of like
oh, the
Loyal's
of your
race. Yeah. And then they do all the heavy lifting of introducing us to the tinkerers or whatever they're called that have the way of the leaf people. So
yeah.
they are kind of they do all the establishing stuff to establish to establish what these things are, and then they never revisit them. And it just seems weird to take a property like the Wheel of Time that's known for its expansive world building, and there's like 1,600 characters in the books and all these
Mhm.
locations and stuff, and they're not using any of that to their advantage on the show at all.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know, am I off or
Yeah. I think you're right, but and one thing to note is that uh, for book three, Rand does have his own storyline, so they can keep him apart from everyone. If
hmm,
they want to try and do like separate storylines for season two,
yeah.
and I think they're also going to be drawing on Matt's book three storyline because at the beginning of book three, he's in the White Tower, so they can just sort of skip his stuff from book two and go there.
Okay.
But I mean,
Well, yeah, I mean that's my hope for season two. Like if I
they've
had to
already, yeah, so and they've already filmed some episodes. I think they filmed at least some of them, or maybe they're just writing them because they've been working on season two for about 5 months now. So I think that any sort of feedback they will get from it will have to be internal instead of from the fan reaction since they already started season two.
yeah,
So I wonder if we're not really going to see anything change until a potential season three. Like if we're going
yeah.
to get the same sort of feel until season three when they actually are able to take some of the critiques to heart.
Yeah, and have you seen any indication that the producers of the show are plugged into the fan community at all? Like I don't
uh,
follow that as closely as you might.
Not really. I'm not sure though.
Yeah.
I think that there's been some like Q&A on like Reddit and Instagram and stuff, but it's been very like I don't know, like
Kind of generic.
more like PR, kind of like
Yeah.
marketing speak more than.
Right.
But I'm not sure. And I know that like they do want like they said that Rafe had asked for longer episodes, like he wanted the premiere to be 90 minutes, so it didn't seem as rushed. But like Amazon had mandated the lengths of everything,
Hmm.
and they mandated it to be 8 episodes instead of any more than that. So I think that,
Yeah, I don't know.
and
I
he
mean,
just,
going back to something we talked about last episode, is that I don't think that the length of the episodes or the quantity of the episodes is really
yeah, it's just
the
the writing
problem.
and the, yeah. So, and then next season will still be 8 episodes. So it's not like that's going to change.
Yeah.
But
There's nothing wrong with doing 8 episodes, and there's nothing wrong with keeping each episode X amount of minutes. It's just I just wish they would. I mean, my position is well established here. I'm not going to retread it for everyone to
yeah,
listen to, but yeah, it'd be interesting to see if they can take some feedback on board. Now, I don't know what the feedback in other circles is. I don't know what
yeah, I think
the
the general consensus is like most people were kind of let down by the finale.
yeah. I mean,
And
I
like,
don't know what the general sense is from people about the series as a whole. Like, I don't know if, I'm not very plugged in to any of the fan communities on Reddit or Twitter
yeah,
or anywhere else. So I don't know what other people's opinions are really. I try to,
well, I think that the finale kind of, just like with us, it sort of soured a lot of people on the whole thing,
yeah,
unfortunately. And like from the book perspective, it changed so much in the finale that it's sort of like, where are you going now? Like you changed so much.
yeah, right. Anything could happen. Well, I will say that even though I definitely had my criticisms of the show and the show wasn't didn't live up to the expectations I had, I would say. Um
Yeah.
I am still excited and interested to see what season 2 brings.
Yeah. I wonder if it will even be this year.
Yeah.
Like, because, well, so just for context, we're entering, like, this is the second day in 2022, and they haven't finished filming season 2 yet. And they still would have to do post, which would be like what, 6 to 8 months.
Yeah, I have no idea what kind of timetable these guys work on.
So I would probably assume that we would not get any season 2 until this time next year.
That would be terrible. I
Because
mean, terrible for the momentum of the show.
yeah, I
You know what I
mean,
mean?
so Amazon has Lord of the Rings in September, and that's, I
Oh,
think maybe
yeah,
eight
they're not going to
episodes.
release those at the same time.
Yeah, I think it's 8 episodes. So that would take you to the end of October, right?
Yeah, you're into November. So maybe that's
So
when we can expect to see Wheel Time back, probably fourth quarter
yeah,
2022.
maybe December, January. And
Yeah.
that's if they can finish filming like in the next few months and then start post, which I'm not sure if they can even do that.
Yeah, I have no idea.
So,
Okay, we're at about an hour 20. Is there anything that we want to say before we sign off?
um, I think we covered most. I don't know if there's any final thoughts.
No, I
I mean,
think
I think that there's definitely a lot that they can work with on season 2, and I hope that they can get past some of the complaints that people have that way. It doesn't just become a 2-season thing because they renewed it season 2 before season 1 aired, so it was a guaranteed, but season 3 isn't guaranteed. So I guess we'll just
yeah,
have to see.
yeah, I agree. All right, should we leave it at that?
Yeah, sounds
All
good.
right. Well, that was episode 8 of Pattern of the Ages. You can leave us feedback at patternoftheages@gmail.com. That is patternoftheages@gmail.com. And until season 2, we'll talk to you later.
See ya.